Husband's suffocating behavior forces me to secretly plan my escape, preparing to submit his own divorce papers and start a new life. I'll never forget the day it all started to crumble. Sam and I had been married for 5 years, and like any couple, we had our ups and downs. But lately, the downs seemed to be winning. It wasn't just the usual marital disagreements anymore. Sam's behavior was suffocating, borderline obsessive. It felt like he wanted to control every aspect of my life. One night, I was out with a few friends for a casual dinner. I hadn't been out in ages, and it felt good to laugh and relax. But Sam didn't like it. He called me multiple times, sending angry texts when I didn't respond immediately. When I got home, he was pacing the living room, eyes wild with anger. "Where the hell have you been, Isabella?" he demanded, his voice dripping with accusation. I tried to explain, but he wouldn't listen. He accused me of cheating, of lying, of all sorts of ridiculous things. It was then I realized this wasn't just about trust. It was about control. And I felt trapped. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I knew I had to make a change. I had to get out, but it wasn't going to be easy. Sam was the kind of guy who would make my life hell if he knew I was planning to leave. So I had to be smart, careful, and above all, secretive. Over the next few weeks, I started to subtly prepare for my escape. I began to squirrel away small amounts of money from our joint account into a secret stash. I told Sam I was working late or meeting friends more often to create a pattern, so he wouldn't be suspicious when I eventually made my move. I also started looking for a lawyer, someone who could help me navigate the legal minefield of divorce. It was tricky because Sam was always around, always watching. But I managed to find someone I could trust, a no-nonsense woman named Emily who specialized in cases like mine. Emily helped me understand my rights and what I needed to do to protect myself. We discussed the importance of documenting everything, Sam's erratic behavior, his controlling nature, and any evidence of his financial dealings. She also advised me to find a safe place to stay once I left, somewhere Sam couldn't easily find me. Finding that safe place was another challenge. I couldn't stay with friends or family. Sam would check there first. I needed a place where I could disappear for a while. After some searching, I found a small, secluded apartment on the other side of town. It wasn't much, but it was safe and anonymous. As my plans came together, Sam's behavior escalated. He became more paranoid, more controlling. He started checking my phone, questioning my every move. It felt like I was living in a prison, constantly under surveillance. One night, things came to a head. Sam and I were having dinner when he started grilling me about my day. I tried to keep my answers vague, but he wasn't having it. "Why were you at the coffee shop for so long?" he snapped, his eyes narrowing. "I had some work to do," I replied, trying to stay calm. "Bullshit," he spat. "I saw you talking to that guy. Who is he?" I was taken aback. I had talked to a barista about my order, nothing more, but Sam's jealousy had twisted it into something sinister. "Sam, you're being ridiculous," I said, trying to defuse the situation. "I was just ordering coffee." He didn't believe me. He grabbed my arm, his grip tight and painful. "Don't lie to me, Isabella. I won't tolerate it." That was the moment I knew I couldn't wait any longer. I had to leave, and soon. I couldn't live like this anymore. That night, after Sam finally went to bed, I gathered some essentials. Clothes, important documents, the money I'd saved, and hid them in a bag in the back of my closet. I knew I couldn't take everything at once. It had to look normal until the very last moment. The day I finally left was one of the most nerve-wracking days of my life. Sam had gone to work, and I had a small window of time to make my move. I called in sick to my job, packed the last of my things, and slipped out of the house. My heart was pounding as I drove to the apartment. Every car that passed made me jump, afraid it might be Sam. But I made it without incident, and once I was inside, I locked the door and finally allowed myself to breathe. I called Emily to let her know I'd made it. She advised me to file for a restraining order and start the divorce process immediately. I spent the rest of the day doing just that, filling out forms and making phone calls. It was exhausting, but it felt good to finally be taking control of my life. That evening, I sat in my new, sparsely furnished apartment, feeling a mix of relief and fear. I was free, but I knew Sam wouldn't take this lying down. He would come looking for me, and I had to be ready. Once I left, I knew the storm was coming, but I wasn't fully prepared for the shit show that followed. Sam was pissed. No, he was beyond pissed. He was fucking livid. The first sign of his rage came through my phone. He called again and again, leaving voicemails that ranged from pleading and tearful to downright terrifying. In one, he was crying, begging me to come back, saying he couldn't live without me. In the next, he was spewing venom, calling me a bitch and threatening to ruin my life. I blocked his number, but he didn't stop. He started showing up at my work, causing scenes that left my coworkers wide-eyed and whispering. The first time he came, I was in a meeting. My phone lit up with a message from reception. "Your husband is here, and he's making a scene." I felt my blood turn to ice. I excused myself and went down to find him yelling at the receptionist, demanding to see me. "Isabella, we need to talk," he shouted when he saw me. His face was red, his eyes wild. "Get out, Sam," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You're not supposed to be here." "I just want to talk," he insisted, but I could see the madness in his eyes. The security guards had to escort him out, and I knew then that this wasn't going to be easy. I had already informed my boss about the situation, and she was supportive. But having Sam show up like that made everything so much more real and scary. It wasn't just about leaving, it was about surviving. I filed for a restraining order the next day. The process was grueling, involving detailed accounts of his behavior and lots of waiting in dreary government offices. When the judge granted it, I felt a small sense of relief, but I knew it was just a piece of paper. It wouldn't physically stop Sam from coming near me. Sam hired a private investigator to find me. I started noticing strange cars parked near my apartment, unfamiliar faces watching me. Paranoia became my constant companion. Every time I left my apartment, I looked over my shoulder, half expecting Sam to jump out at me. I changed my routines, driving different routes to work, shopping at different stores, never settling into a pattern he could predict. One night, I came home to find my apartment door slightly ajar. My heart stopped. I knew I had locked it. I stepped inside cautiously, my hands shaking, and found my place ransacked. Drawers pulled out, clothes thrown everywhere, and my laptop missing. It was clear Sam had been here. He had broken in, looking for God knows what. I called the police, but there was little they could do. He hadn't left any obvious evidence, and I couldn't prove it was him. That incident pushed me to the edge. I started staying with a friend, Sarah, for a few nights a week. I didn't want to put her in danger, but I also couldn't stay alone. Sarah was a godsend. She let me vent, cry, and scream about the injustice of it all. She made me feel human again. Meanwhile, the divorce process was dragging on. Sam contested everything. He wanted the house, the car, even the dog we never got around to adopting. He claimed I was hiding money, that I was the abusive one. It was a fucking nightmare. My lawyer, Emily, was a rock. She kept me grounded, reminding me of our end goal, freedom. Then there were the friends who took Sam's side. People I'd known for years suddenly turned on me, buying into his sob stories about how I abandoned him. I lost friends, people who couldn't understand why I had to leave or who believed Sam's lies. It hurt, but it also showed me who my real friends were. The ones who stuck by me were my lifeline. They supported me, helped me move my things, and listened to my fears without judgment. I also had to deal with Sam's attempts to hack my life. He broke into my email, my social media, even my bank accounts. I changed passwords, set up two-factor authentication, and became hyper-vigilant about my digital security. It felt like I was fighting a war on multiple fronts. The emotional toll of his harassment, the legal battle of the divorce, and the constant threat to my privacy and safety. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the divorce was finalized. It wasn't a clean break. There were still loose ends, things to sort out, but the big part was done. I was legally free. I moved to a new apartment in a different part of town, changed my phone number, and started a new job. It felt like a fresh start, but the scars of the past lingered. Moving on was a slow process. There were nights when I'd wake up in a cold sweat, convinced I heard Sam breaking in. I'd panic at the sight of a car that looked like his, and any unknown number calling my phone sent my heart racing. Therapy helped. I found a therapist who specialized in domestic abuse, and slowly, I began to heal. I also threw myself into work and new hobbies. I took up painting, something I'd always wanted to try but never had the time for. It became my therapy, a way to process everything I'd been through. I made new friends, people who didn't know Sam, who knew me as Isabella, the survivor, not Isabella, the wife of a controlling man. Looking back, it's hard to believe how far I've come. Leaving Sam was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the best decision of my life. I learned to trust myself again, to stand up for my own happiness. I built a new life from the ashes of the old one, and while the journey was brutal, it made me stronger. If you're reading this and feeling trapped or controlled, know this: you have the power to change your life. It won't be easy, and it will take time, but you can do it. Don't let anyone take your freedom away. Reach out for help, make a plan, and when you're ready, take that leap. You deserve to be happy, to be free,